Hello, everyone, and welcome to She Inspire Inclusion 2024, an International Women's Day celebration that is hosted by OnActuate. Today is all about bringing together leaders in the community to take part in a panel discussion inspiring inclusion for women with a special focus on the tech industry. My name is Delaney Freer-Sanford, and I am the Global Marketing Manager at OnActuate, a global technology and consulting firm. I'm going to be moderating today's panel. Just a couple housekeeping things. We've muted everyone to limit background noise, but if you have any comments based on the discussion or questions that come up for you, please don't hesitate to put those in the chat. We really appreciate you supporting today's event. We'll kick off with a welcome message from our CEO and founder, Sharon Oberoi, and then the bulk of today's agenda will be a 40-minute discussion with our amazing panel of talented female leaders, and then our global HR manager will close. So without further ado, I'll hand it off to Sharon for the welcome. Sharon, over to you.
Thank you, Delaney. And this is our third year celebrating this beautiful event. And truly, like I say every year, every day at OnActuate is International Women's Day. We celebrate the amazing women that we have on our team. But I do want to start, I'm not going to steal the thunder, I promise, but I do want to start talking a little bit about my personal reflections about women in my life. My mom's been working for the last, I don't know, I mean, she's 80 now, but she worked 40 years of her life as a principal of the school. And I saw her every day traveling 2 hours one way, going to work, coming back to us little kids at the time. And as we grew up, she continued that rigor at work, and how she balanced the whole family and the work life. That just amazes me till today. And I see the same thing with my wife, who's an executive coach. She goes out spends 8 9 hours talking to people. Man, that could be intense. And then she comes back and coaches me and my kids at the same time. So it's it's an amazing job, and sometimes I am in awe of how these amazing women actually do it. And I see my daughter, who's a national karate champion, and how she manages all the stress in the stadium and comes out and excels academically. It's just amazing how they all do that. Interestingly, my daughter came back early this year and said, "Dad, I just signed up for a mechanical engineering program in my school, and I'm the only girl in the class." And I looked at her and I said, well, at least you're starting something new and you're setting the benchmark. So, I think you're on the right track, and truly, she's enjoying that thoroughly. Every time she disassembles an engine and puts the engine back in again, she sends me a picture and says, "Hey, look what I just did that." And you know what? All the guys are behind me, and I'm the first one who actually achieved it. So it gives, it's a proud dad moment for me. But truly, it's amazing how women continue to excel in every field that they participate in. I look in our organization. We're fortunate enough to have 3 leaders out of the 7 at the top leadership level, and they do amazing work. Everything that they do in their respective areas is just absolutely amazing. Last year, we started a program. We realized that there's not enough women leaders in the middle management, and we started a mentorship program for women leaders in the organization, and that continues till today. And there's a lot that needs to get done beyond bringing gender equality and bringing a gender parity across the organization and the business world today. There's we need to set some standards for care and give flexible timing to young moms. We have to make sure that we are able to bring people regardless of gender up in the leadership and give them equal opportunities. So there's a lot that needs to get done. And on OnActuate, I can see ourselves committed to doing just that. Not just today, but every day, it's a day to bring diversity. It's a day to embrace equality. So I'm not gonna, as I promised, I'm not gonna steal thunder, and we have an amazing group of panelists. Thank you to all of you for taking out time to talk about the challenges, talk about the things that are important to everybody in the group, and I truly appreciate the time. Welcome to all the participants as well. I hope you get your golden nuggets from today's panel discussion, and I look forward to hearing all of you as well. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Sharon. All right, I am thrilled to introduce our panel. Today, we are joined by Stephanie Kleiner, Director of Technical Sales at Microsoft, Denebra McClendon, VP Global Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Dayforce, Kimberly Williams Tomlin, Deputy Tax Collector at Pinellas County Tax Collector, and my own coworker, Alyssa Morell, Global HR Manager at OnActuate. Thank you all for taking the time to be here today. I won't spend too much time on introductions because we're going to give each of them the opportunity to introduce themselves. So let's get to know our panel better. Please tell us who you are, including a 1-minute history of your career journey and who your role models are and why. Alyssa, would you like to go first?
I would love to, Delaney. Thank you. My name is Alyssa Morell, and I take care of global human resources here at OnActuate. I've been with the company for about 2.5 years now. And I fell in love with human resources. I was sort of on a different career path, but I was at a company where I realized the need for human resources, started taking some schooling, and was able to kind of grow the function there, and just absolutely fell in love with it. I love, bridging that gap between kind of the needs of employees and the direction of the organization, and it's been a really rewarding career. My role models, I have two, my mom and my sister, very strong, brilliant women who have faced a lot of adversity in their lives. But my sister, especially, is a continuing example of someone who always gives back. No matter what kind of circumstance she's in, she's always a person who is always giving, always supporting others, and bringing them up. And I just love her for that.
Thanks, Melissa. Denebra, would you like to go next?
Absolutely. I'm actually going to kind of mirror a little bit of what Alyssa said. I'm going to start with my role models. My role models are also my mom and my sister. I am one of 5. I'm right in the middle, and my sister is the oldest. She's a natural born teacher, and she has taught me so much. I think when you assume the position, when you're born into that role of oldest sibling, you often get some responsibilities that you never really asked for. But being a role model is definitely one that I think she walks and welcomes very well. But just kind of stepping back, my name is Denebra McClendon, like you said. I've been at Dayforce for over 20 years. Unlike Alyssa, I'm not the HR lady. I was not naturally an HR person. I've always been a people leader. I've enjoyed growing teams and leading teams. I've always been a teacher. So the opportunities that I get now to work in the space of global diversity, equity, and inclusion really gives me a chance to educate, to celebrate, and to be intentional about creating spaces and places where people can feel like they belong within our own organization and within the community. So.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being here today. All right, Kimberly, would you like to go next?
Yes, thank you very much. Again, I'm Kimberly Williams Tomlin. I have been in the accounting industry for over 30 years, worked in a lot of different sectors: healthcare, long-term care, pharmacy, not-for-profit, social services, kind of run the gamut, local government. Enjoy the career. It is one that I have a passion for. I like to use my skills from the budgeting and finance and financial perspective to help the community and all of the organizations that I've worked with achieve, better outcomes. So certainly that's just always kind of been my passion. I'm also currently working on my master's in industrial and organizational psychology, because I also too love people. and want to, further my dreams and goals, in helping organizations learn to better meet the needs of its employees. To piggyback off of Alyssa and Denebra, my mother was also my biggest role model. She taught me a very valuable lesson and kind of modeled this for me every day, the importance of keeping balance in every aspect of your life, no matter where you are and what journey you're taking. She actually had the opportunity to realize three of her dreams in her way of career throughout her life. She started out as a registered nurse, then became a CPA, and then moved on to become an actuary. Later in life, she was always about learning. But she always just kind of taught me, make sure that you don't let any one thing, in your life supersede the others. You can meet the needs of other people while also, realizing your own dreams and making sure that you don't leave yourself behind in that, because oftentimes, as the people in our families who take care of everyone, our dreams get deferred. So she always wanted to make sure that I understood the importance of that balance, because then you can better meet the needs of others when your life is in balance, when you are also meeting your needs. So she was definitely my role model.
Amazing. Thank you, Kimberly. All right. Stephanie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Stephanie Kleiner. I am a technical sales director at Microsoft, as the introduction displayed. I've been in the technology industry for over 30 years, and I have always been on the primarily sales and marketing side of the industry versus the technical engineering and developer side. And I've had an opportunity to work for small organizations, but primarily very large organizations like Microsoft, the majority of my career. I do have both, as everyone else has stated, personal as well as professional role models. On the personal side as well, between my sister and my mother, the things that I've learned throughout life is how to show up in the face of adversity, as well as, you can't do everything perfectly all the time, and to be kind to yourself and give yourself some space and some grace to be the person you are, and to make mistakes and know that doing the best you can is still very good compared to others, and that's okay. From a professional role model perspective, I have been fortunate to have worked either for or nearby some incredible women at Microsoft who did provide a roadmap of what this really can look like. And I feel super grateful that I've been in their company over the years. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right. Okay, so let's kick off today's discussion. So the first thing we would like to do is take a look at the challenges that women face at work. We've put together a video that's a couple minutes long. It captures a few different experiences that women can have in the workplace. So I will pull that up and we can take a moment to just watch that together.
People talk about women in the workplace, and they usually say she's too passionate or she's not involved enough.
One of the most sexist things that I have heard so much in my career is women are too damn emotional.
After he said I was aggressive, I challenged him and said, I don't think I'm being aggressive. If anything, I'm just being firm in my ideas and my beliefs. To which he said, I guess I just have to get used to your personality.
God, she's too shrill, or she talks like a man. There's always given on the woman, there's always extreme.
While 70% of women who work in majority female workplaces say they're usually treated fairly when it comes to opportunities for advancement or promotion, just 38% of women who work in male-dominated workplaces report the same.
Did you know that the odds are stacked against women of color in the workplace? Women of color have an experience that crosses racial and gender lines, and this can lead to what researchers call double jeopardy, where women of color experience the most extreme forms of harassment because of their intersecting identities. Research by Amanda Secco and Monica Biernat documented the invisibility of Black women, where photos of Black women were least likely to be recognized by their peers, and the contributions of Black women in meetings were least likely to be attributed to them.
I was aware that I was the only Asian woman in lots of circles, and the circles I would say is corporate.
Anyway, Jasmine, on your camera, you're the only Black woman at the company.
Hi.
Hey, can you help us until we get a head of diversity and inclusion, because we have to hire one?
No, because y'all not gonna listen.
These women who work in majority male workplaces are also more likely to report that they have been treated as though they're not competent because of their gender, that they have been passed over for desirable assignments, and that they earn less than someone of the opposite gender for doing the same job.
Research by Dr. Joan Williams shows that women and people of color are more likely to be asked to do office housework, like note-taking, mentoring, cleaning up, all critical to a well-functioning team, but not recognition or promotion worthy.
I'm a working mom. Tell me that my kids are going to remember I spent more time at work than I did with them. I'm a working mom. People tell me I put my career above my kids. I'm a working mom. People like to remind me I let daycare raise my kids.
We're working moms. We're constantly dealing with mom guilt. We're working moms. We're going to have to find somebody to pick up our kids when we're working late.
We're working moms. We have to rush out the door to make it to all of our kids' events.
Working moms. We're going to use all our sick days for when our kids are sick.
I decided that I was going to be one of the guys, but I was also going to be a woman. So I was not going to allow them to push me around.
Well, if you believe in yourself and you actually want to make change and you get the right people in your team and you move them along, then anything is possible.
Give us all a moment to digest that. Denebra, I'd love to start with you. How did you feel when you saw that? Have you experienced or witnessed any of those things in your career?
Yeah, absolutely. I laugh because I could resonate with much of what I've seen in the video. And it is unfortunate, but it is definitely a reality, specifically as a woman of color in the corporate space, oftentimes being selected as the leader to teach all about what diversity, equity, and inclusion really means. But I actually look at it as an opportunity sometimes to really embrace that. I think when I lead in a space of humility, so whether it's leadership humility or cultural humility, it definitely gives me an opportunity to educate others on the things that are really most important to me. And I would say being an ally is probably one of those. So,
Great perspective. Thank you. Kimberly, I know you mentioned earlier the different industries that you've worked when you've worked in both female and male dominated workplaces. Have you seen any of these scenarios in your work life?
Absolutely. Especially, there were a couple that stood out, but the ones of our contributions as women, when we're sitting at those tables, the contributions that we're making, the suggestions that we're making, while very valuable, sometimes are overlooked and not seen as being as valuable. But, in that same space, a gentleman could come up with the exact same solution you came up with, and it's the best thing since sliced bread. So I've certainly, been in those environments where that's happened, but also, like you said, in the other spaces with the female predominant environments where it was much more collaborative and my voice was heard. It was not hushed. But again, like Denebra said, I usually push past that. I won't have my voice silenced in any way. I'm going to show up every day like I do, always ready to make my contributions, and I refuse to not be heard. And I think that's just important for us not to silence our voices ever.
So true. Alyssa, as an HR professional, what stood out to you from the video?
I really liked when they spoke about those non-promotable tasks, which is what we call the things in the office or the workplace that women are often called to do. Empty the dishwasher or organize the party, or things that are by no means in women's job description. You see maybe a mechanical engineer, for example, called to do these things when there's a room full of very capable male mechanical engineers that could also do the same thing, for example. And even today, we still see women pushed into doing those tasks, and it really is because perhaps the men aren't being asked or stepping up to do that. That's actually, it's sort of robbing time from those women. We all have a limited amount of hours in the day. And I think that, for women, if they're able to focus on what they're truly good at, making the contributions, contributing, using all those years of schooling and all those years of experience and contributing as they're supposed to. But if that's taken from them because they're expected to do these other tasks, it's unfair, and no wonder women can be passed up for promotions and not recognized if our time is kind of being taken in that way. So I think that's a really good opportunity for everyone to step up and help with all those necessary things in the workplace.
So true. All right, thank you all for sharing. Okay, so let's talk about some other real life barriers that women are facing in the workplace. Kimberly, I'd love to ask you, what are some barriers that mothers face when returning to the workforce after maternity leave or maybe a career break?
There are several. And basically because there are societal and cultural norms that place us in the roles and have expectations on us to be primary caregivers for our children and other family members. So oftentimes our dreams, our career aspirations either, get put on the back burner, deferred, or we forego them sometimes. And but then, when we are ready to re-enter and retransition back into the workforce, we have biases that we face for having taken the time off to take care of our families, and taking that time off often means that we may be overlooked for promotions or things like that. So that's one of the things. Another one is coming back into the work environment after you've been off for a while. We struggle with leaving our children or our family members in the care of someone else. We don't have enough behavioral resources available to women and mothers who are transitioning back into work environments to help them kind of, grapple with that guilty feeling and saying it's okay that you come back in, to the environment. You can do both. So you do need even that help transitioning back in. So those resources are often not available. And daycare is always a big problem. First, we have to trust that there is a trustworthy daycare provider or care provider for our family member that's out there, and that it needs to be affordable. I don't see as much investment by companies to maybe collaborate with care providers in the communities to set up, some type of situation where we can make it more affordable for parents and mothers who are coming back in the workforce to be able to put their kids in competent care. And Also the leave policies and, work flexibility. My needs as a single person were very different. When it was just me, I had to think about once I had children, what I needed in the way of work arrangements and leave looked significantly different. But I hate to say that organizations think the one size fits all kind of cookie cutter pattern is the way to go when looking at, work arrangements and leave policies, and that's just not going to be sufficient. It wasn't, over 30 years when I started having children, and it's still the same, now in many ways. I just haven't seen much development and growth in those ways.
Mhm. I relate to that a lot. I have an 18-month-old son, so I was very grateful to work where I did when I went through that whole experience of becoming a mom. Just the flexibility and the empathy that I was able to find on OnActuate was amazing. But hearing from, some of my friends, just the experiences that they went through, especially living in the United States compared to other countries, just our leave policies. I feel like we're so behind the times on some of that. But Stephanie, I'd love to hear from you, your advice on how we can support women facing barriers like that. What role can organizations play?
Sure. And I think it first starts with the person who's in need of the support, right? So before we talk about how others can support them, how can women who know that this is going to be coming up first self-advocate and find their network in advance and get educated, and don't be afraid to ask questions and to be vulnerable. Understand what your organization's policies are. How can you take advantage of them to the fullest extent, right? And how do you set yourself up so prior to going on a career leave or a maternity leave, you feel comfortable of what your rights are and what you're entitled to. And it also plays a little bit into some career advice that we like to give each other around making sure that you have good management around you, that you pick your manager, not your job sometimes, so that in your future, you have that support and you've built a network so that you can sort of bounce some ideas and leverage your mentors at work before you even go. Of course, we have to be sponsors for each other and allies for each other. I think some of the mistakes women tend to make, and especially women in leadership positions, is are they lifting women up or are they standing on another woman's shoulders to get up there, right? We have to really be there for each other and help each other, and be their advocate when they're not there to talk about, oh, well, this is going on. I know this person will be back from their infant care leave in 2 months from now. Let's start putting them and positioning them. So how could we be proactive for them when they are on that leave? So it's important, I think, for both the person who's in need of the support to set themselves up, as well as those who have been in that situation. My kids are 18, almost 18 and 21, and what was available to me then versus what's available now. And I am fortunate to work with for an organization like Microsoft, similar to Delaney's comments, that really have quite robust programs versus the programs I needed to leverage when I had my children, are like night and day. But we still have work to do, and we have to be proactive for ourselves and proactive for others.
I agree. Thank you, Stephanie.
If I could piggyback off that a
yeah.
little bit, I'd love to. Thanks for letting me jump in. Yeah, I really do believe, until the legislation and the government policy to support childcare catches up to the actual needs of families, I do think that the number one thing employers can do is just provide that flexibility. It's so essential. I see parents, moms and dads, using that flexibility it's always to support the family. And I think it's a wonderful thing that it's such an easy thing for employers to provide. And it's such a valuable thing to parents, to anyone in a caregiving capacity. So yeah.
Denebra, I'd love to hear from you. How do you know if these efforts are having a positive impact from an organization standpoint?
Yeah, I think very simple. You go to your people and you ask the questions. Again, just to reiterate what some of the other panelists have said, I think as women, it's really important that we learn to advocate for ourselves. I'm often reminded of some advice that I received from a mentor, and that is to ask for what you want, right? What's the worst thing that can happen? So I think we need to be empowered to ask for what we want, and also to use our voice and to share our concerns when things aren't working out for us well. When you know that you're adding value to a role or to an organization, it's really, really important to be empowered to, again, advocate for yourself. When we talk about understanding what your skills are and how you contribute value, and at Dayforce, we say that quantifiable value. I think when you recognize what transferable skills that you have and that you bring to the organization, it's really, really important that you are proactive in taking the lead and breaking down some of those barriers, right? I think we have to be proactive in recognizing what are some of those systemic barriers that we actually have control over, or are we playing into the easy role of just sitting back and not really advocating for ourselves? So I think that the biggest thing that an employer can do is listen, but I think it's the responsibility of women in the workplace, of allies of women in the workplace, to really use their voice to advocate and to ask for what they want.
Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me of my sister-in-law is a personal trainer, and she will often use the phrase, choose your hard. So, if you feel like you're not being heard, that's hard. Speaking up is hard.
It is.
Choose your hard. All right, thank you for that insight. Okay, so across industries, we see an underrepresentation of women in leadership roles. Stephanie, heading over to you. What are some real challenges that women leaders face, and how can we empower them to face them?
Yeah, thank you for the question. You know, and this is very, very pervasive, I think, in the technology industry. When we think of technology, it is quite a male-dominated industry. And if we think of the feeder to the technology industry and STEM in general, it's, you know, women again and girls are very underrepresented in this choice of career. So, you know, so just the idea of getting into leadership is already a barrier. You know, which we have to overcome. And, you know, similar to some of the other principles, we have to work harder, right? We have to have a really strong support system around us to allow us to work hard. And we have to show up probably better than our male counterparts to be considered. So the advice I would give folks that want to get into leadership, or when you already are in leadership, is really understanding the organizational dynamics and having that really strong sense of, you know, situational analysis, if you will. What's around you? Who is the power base? Who are making the decisions? Who are your partners and allies in the organization? And how do you stay heard? If I think back to some of those videos at the beginning, you know, how do you have a voice without being put into those stereotypes? How do you maybe make some side moves in the organization? So how do you maybe move to a parallel role, but you know that department or that area has other women in the group, and you feel that you might have a level of comfort and an opportunity for growth in a way where, you know, you have maybe a male-dominated department or organization. You know, you want to say, oh, everyone's the same, everyone has the same opportunities. And I do believe in my heart, organizations in their heart are trying. I don't know if they're always successful in executing, right? So think about where you want to be. Think of 2 or 3 steps ahead in your career and start building a roadmap for yourself and trying to place yourself in those situations where you could be successful, whether it's in an individual contributor role or in a leadership role, which typically is harder because they're more competitive.
Yeah. Denebra, what are some examples you've witnessed where employers effectively support the upward mobility of women?
Yeah, great question. And I'm nodding my head as Stephanie is talking, because I just really want to emphasize the importance of what she said about recognizing who the people are in the room. I think having a strategy is really, really, really key, right? Having a strategy when you're talking about upward mobility, working with the organization, but being intentional about building community. I think that's one of the things that we all could do better, and that is being intentional about building our community, and also being more proactive in helping each other and uplifting each other. One of the things that I've seen that really works well at Dayforce, I'm going to talk about the programs that we run, but at Dayforce, we have lots of opportunities where we identify underrepresented folks within our own organization, and we are intentional about giving them opportunities to really amplify their careers, allowing them the access to stretch assignments, right? Partnering them with sponsors within the organization, because mentors are great. And I think mentors are really important for career advice and navigation. But I think we have to be intentional about pairing people and giving them an opportunity through sponsorship. When you can use your relationship currency to help someone else, to uplift someone else, I think that is what's really going to propel careers. Now, I will pause and say, I think relationship currency from a sponsor is also something that should be earned, right? So showing up as your true, authentic self, working twice as hard, putting forth the effort, really is what's going to help you to, earn that sponsorship. But when you get it, when you get that sponsor who's willing to stand behind you and throw you out there and put you out there on that platform, you have to shine. You absolutely have to shine. When you get that opportunity, you have to shine, and then you have to remember to come back and to help somebody else. So I think intentionality, being strategic about the plan, I think building community, building networks are really, really important. But even beyond that, earning that executive sponsorship and then being intentional to pull somebody else up behind you.
And I just wanted to add one other thing. I know we're focusing a lot on the women who are already in the leadership roles, but I also think it's very important for us to look at our future generations of women leaders who are going to be coming up and putting some emphasis on the fact that we need to let them know. And like you said, both Denebra and Stephanie said, making sure we're providing them with those opportunities in that space and that confidence to know that there aren't any limits, while people, society, whomever may try to put those limits on them, give them the exposure to all of these different career options and let them know, look, the sky's the limit. You can do and be whatever you want to, but like you said, when someone else is investing in you, be sure that you are taking that opportunity seriously, because you are going to set the example and that roadmap for someone else in the future. It's very reciprocal. We have to make sure we're giving back continuously to each other, but I think we do have to focus a lot of on our young ladies and women who are coming up and are going to be the future leaders as well.
That's an excellent point. Oh, geez. Frog in my throat. Sorry about that. Excellent point. Thank you, Kimberly. All right. So we have a quote here from CIO magazine that I'm going to read. Black women leaders face even more barriers to leadership. They are more likely to have their competence questioned by colleagues, 55%, or to be subjected to demeaning behavior. 1 in 3 Black women leaders report being denied or passed over for opportunities because of their race and gender. So just going off of that, Stephanie, I know you shared a powerful story earlier when we were chatting in our prep call for today's session. So I'd love to hear from you. What role do organizations, leaders, and colleagues play in empowering and supporting the success of Black women and or women who are visible minorities?
Sure, thank you. And thank you for allowing me to share this really touching story for me, and hopefully the people that I've worked with as a result over the years. So at Microsoft, we have an ERG, an employee resource group called BAM, Blacks at Microsoft, and they are a very active group in the organization. And once a year, they have a large conference at corporate in Seattle, where they're able to get together, share stories, and lift each other up and network and have opportunities inside of Microsoft. And they also had what they call a manager's ally track. And one of the folks who worked for me, he was a very active member of the BAM community at Microsoft. And in the prior year, he called me he's like, Stephanie, it would mean so much to me if you would come to the BAM conference next year and go on the manager ally track. And I'm like, wow, I'm honored, and that would be my pleasure. So of course, the following year, I hightailed it from Miami to Seattle, and I had what I would call truly a life-changing experience, not just professionally, but personally too, quite frankly. And I learned as a leader, I had a lot more power, and with that power came responsibility in the organization around your people in general, regardless of what they were. But what I learned the most, probably the biggest lesson learned until this day, I still have to think about it and live it, is when you have underrepresented people that work for you, minorities, whether they're people of color, Asian, female, LGBTQ community, the gut reaction as a manager is, to be fair, I treat everybody the same because I don't have a bias. And that's me being a good manager. Everybody's the same. I don't see color. I don't see gender. I only see employees. Well, what I learned through this experience is, because that person is a minority, they are underrepresented, that being, quite frankly, having the being strong enough to just go to that person and say, listen, I do see your differences. How can I help you because of them? I have a level of power and responsibility in the organization because I'm a manager. So I can do things and I have access. Can you please share with me if you have challenges because of this. Now, some people are like, yep, Steph, I got it, I'm fine. I'm like, great. The reality was every person of color on my team said, well, now that you're saying something, let me tell you. And everyone had a very touching, impactful, and deep story. And because of that, I was able to do things and I was able to act on that. And I will never feel comfortable telling this story because it was hard. And quite frankly, it's still hard. But if I took one thing away as a life lesson, as a lesson, a professional lesson, is don't just assume because you treat everybody the same that you're being fair. If anything, you're not. You have to lean in and ask people what they need because they might not have the same privilege. And then use your power to act on it.
I want to jump in, Delaney. Can I jump in here?
Oh my gosh,
Listen,
absolutely, yes.
I get super excited. First of all, Stephanie, I want to say thank you. Thank you for calling out that everybody is not the same. And while it may sound good to say, I don't see color, I see everybody the same, that is really unrealistic, right? We all see color unless we're visually impaired and we really just don't see. But recognizing that we all start from different places and our needs are different. That is what's called true allyship or authentic allyship in action. And I think that is what people of color, Black women in the workplace need more than anything else, right? We need to be seen, right? We need to feel valued. We need to be appreciated. But I think that comes when we put authentic allyship into action. I tell the story all the time. I graduated from a historically Black college or university in South Florida. I am very proud of the school that I graduated from, but nobody was down there looking for us. Like, they really weren't. We didn't get the high recruits. Nobody was in there looking for us. It didn't mean that there really weren't great or talented students coming out of that university. I earned 2 degrees there, but I will tell you that nobody was looking for us. So we had to work twice as hard to land the positions, right? We had to work twice as hard to get the visibility within the organizations, right? And then when it becomes even more difficult, when you don't see someone who looks like you in those positions, you almost feel defeated. How can I be what I cannot see? So it's really important that when people in positions of authority see us, they recognize us, they recognize our hard work, and they want to be authentic allies, asking the questions, what can I do to help you? How can I better understand who you are and maybe some of the challenges that you have? My challenge was visibility. I worked really, really hard. I didn't always have the opportunities or the visibility in order to be able to display that to other people in positions of power to help me to accelerate or to move throughout that career ladder. That goes back to, again, having true sponsors, people with the ability to say, nope, go call Denebra because I know she can do this thing. Or, hey, Denebra, can you come in? I'd love to hear your opinion about this thing. Then empowering me to show up authentic and not feel as if I had to mask myself. One thing people will tell you, I will show up authentic, as loud and proud as I am. But again, empowering me to do so really helped me. And then also expecting me to come back and to help others. So thank you for recognizing what true authentic allyship looks like. And I will say, if more people are interested in wanting to know how to break down those barriers, tear down those systems, right? Because we all have some type of bias. And I think what we should do is encourage people to have these uncomfortable conversations where we can talk about the things that really, really matter. And then we can start moving forward and helping others really get to where they want to be. Again, lots of great talent out there. We have to be intentional about where we're looking for that talent, or else we'll continue to stumble past it at little colleges in South Florida that nobody's down there recruiting at.
That's amazing. I am in awe of all of you. It's such a great discussion today. Before I hand it over to Alyssa for closing, is there any other comments anyone would like to make just while we have the platform here today?
No, I'm just really grateful to have been invited to speak. And whenever I listen to the rest of these wonderful women, it makes me want to be better. So thank you.
Listen, and I appreciate also the platform that you've given, one, in recognizing women in the work that we do. I think more organizations can do better. And I think it requires us to demonstrate, again, that we can do better in this space. We have to demand better. We have to get out there and advocate for better. But even beyond that, I think we need to rally the troops, rally the allies, so that we can actually start having a greater presence in this space. Thank you.
And I want to kind of just reiterate what was just said. Thank you very much for this opportunity. It's always awesome to be able to connect with other awesome, intelligent, empowered women. That kind of gives me that drive to keep going and doing more and seeking other opportunities to help others achieve the same thing. So this was an awesome opportunity to do that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'm tearing up a little bit. Thank you all. Very incredible. All right, Alyssa, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I wanted to thank each of you, all the attendees for being here today, and especially our panelists for sharing your experiences, your perspectives, and just supporting the growing awareness of challenges women are facing today in the workplace. I had a formal speech prepared, but I had a really beautiful experience last weekend, and I think that does a better job of communicating the point that I want to make today. So on my slide, you'll see Allison Russell. Last weekend, I went to see a concert, an Allison Russell concert. And if you haven't listened to Allison Russell, I encourage you to drop everything, just clear your calendar, go listen to her music right now. She's amazing. She's definitely been at this whole music thing for a couple of decades, and she's got a really strong following, but her star is definitely rising at this moment. She's up for some Grammy Awards and some Juno Awards this year. It's clearly her year to break through. Allison also has a really amazing band, and it would be really easy for a new fan like me to see her band, enjoy the concert, and not think much about those individuals again. And for anyone who's been to a concert, you know the moment when the lead singer has the drummer do the solo, they clap, we clap, and the show goes on. But during this performance, Allison Russell took time. She took the time to not only have the solo for the drummer, the keyboardist, the bassist, and the guitarist, who were all women, by the way. She also took a few seconds just to kind of talk up each of them. She told us about their other musical projects, of which they all had at least one. She told us about their tours, their accomplishments, and just how much they all meant to her. Now, this took nothing away from my experience or my enjoyment of the Allison Russell concert. And I'd say it actually increased my enjoyment of the concert, because now, instead of just seeing 4 nameless band members who could easily be forgotten, now I'm aware of 4 new artists whose music I'll be exploring and in all likelihood really enjoying. And that's, sorry, I do want to talk about this quote, but if you can jump to the next slide. Thank you. For those of you who have attended the event in previous years, you'll notice that we have rebranded our annual International Women's Day event as being part of our SHE initiative. At OnActuate, we recognize that diversity, equity, and inclusion aren't just buzzwords to be thrown around. They are really fundamental principles that shape our culture and drive our mission forward. And our commitment to promoting gender diversity and inclusion in the tech industry is integral to who we are as an organization. And I feel like we're really picking up steam right now. So that's why we created the SHE initiative, SHE standing for Share Her Excellence. The initiative is the formalization and expansion of the programs we have in place to develop and recognize our team and ensure that we have equitable access to opportunities within our organization. Over the past few years, I've been at the organization for 2.5 years now. We've been building upon, and this hasn't just been during my tenure, this has always been part of the fabric, but we've been building upon and really strengthening our DEI initiatives. We've identified the unique barriers that women are facing in technology. And through our robust diversity, equity, and inclusion program, we're really trying to actively dismantle those barriers and create pathways for these underrepresented voices to rise. We have diverse hiring standards that ensure that talent doesn't have to fit a mold or look a certain way. We have realistic job requirements and diverse interview panels, and we promote access that allows and encourages the diversity in our teams to thrive. Beyond our hiring practices, we support the growth of the team members with professional development opportunities. We talked about our mentorship program that we introduced over a year ago. It's going strong. It's been a really good success. The program has received overwhelmingly positive feedback from mentors and mentees alike. And we've seen some really incredible relationships form. We've seen support systems grow, and we've seen individuals' leadership skills develop. It's been really great to watch. At OnActuate, we see mentoring and professional development as pillars. They're the pillars of support for women in technology. We understand that mentorship isn't just about imparting knowledge. It's about fostering growth and nurturing talent and paving the way for these future leaders to flourish. So our objective, our goal is to build a community where women can thrive and succeed and shatter that glass ceiling. So as we draw to a close on our International Women's Day celebration, I want to take a moment to express our deepest gratitude to each and every one of you for gracing us with your presence. The discussion today was extraordinary and filled with really powerful stories and inspiring reflections on the role of women in technology and the challenges that we face. If I can leave you with one last thought, I want it to be a call to action. We have told you what we have seen that works. We've shared examples of successes in embracing and encouraging equity. We've told you how we've acted as mentors, as sponsors, and as allies to women at work, but now it's your turn. When you leave today and you go back to your workday, please think about the actions, no matter how big or how small, that you can take to widen the ladder, to shine a light on the talented women around you. I promise you, it's easier than you think, and the rewards are immense. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. It was an honor to moderate this panel, and we will be sending out a recording to everybody on the call today, so you can rewatch and share with the others in your life. Thank you. Have a great day.